Dr. Safi Kaskas, the co-author of the book entitled A Contemporary Understanding the Qur'an with References to the Bible. The floor is yours.
Your Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Beyond our satisfaction as an international intellectual group with the demonstrated convergence of values from our different holy books, promoting equal citizenship rights can't happen without the understanding, cooperation, and support of the believers in these holy books. They need to be convinced that their own scriptures teach inclusiveness and support the right of the other to enjoy the same human rights and equality of citizenship. At this time, there is a wave of national populism taking place throughout the world, you all know this, where far-right populists are rising in the polls and are gaining unprecedented strength by spreading fear of the other and amplifying religious biases. Misinterpretation arising from ignorance breeds fear, and fear remains the greatest enemy of peace. The solution is to create tools of enlightenment, to educate and dispel ignorance, to get as many religious leaders on board and get them to support each other and the message of reconciliation, to get the parents to educate themselves about other religions if they want their children to grow up accepting the other. While the promise of this conference is to identify and suggest methods to ascertain the enjoyment of equal citizenship right, I will present to you a tool that will facilitate reaching our objectives if adopted, developed, and used properly. This tool is our book, the Qur'an with references to the Bible. It is a daring book which shows the common ground between the holy books of the Abrahamic faith. It is written in simple English so it can be understood by most. It is an important new tool for Jews, Christians, and Muslims who want to set aside stereotypes and caricatures of one another, to understand the similarities between our great faith traditions, as well as respect the differences that exist. We encourage each faith group to be authentically faithful to its beliefs and to find within those beliefs the resources to respect the other and work together for the common good. My co-author, Dr. David Hungerford, and I had as our underlying motivation for the book to build bridges of better understanding, undermine extremism on all sides, and enlighten ignorance. This book, these powerful instruments, offer Muslims, Christians, and Jews a fresh insight to reconciliation with God and man, and it is greatly needed in these turbulent times. The book started as a Qur'an translation project. During the years I spent working with the translation, it became obvious to me that the Qur'an purpose was not to compete with the Torah and the Gospels, as it often confirms them as books of guidance and enlightenment. As a final revelations, it is a commentary on both. This point is missed by most Western scholars, but it wasn't missed by my co-author, Dr. Hungerford, who was instrumental in encouraging me and in spending years with me to complete the book. A closer look at the Quran, and one finds it to be inclusive and promoting pluralism. It says, truly those believers in this message, as well as the Jews, the Christians, and the Sabians, whoever believes in God and in the last day and does righteous deeds will have their rewards from their Lord and will not have fear, nor will they grieve. Quran, Surah 2, verse 62. The Quran confirms all of them and describes them using a term of endearment, the people of the book. The holy books tells us that their origin is God himself, and therefore the Quran tells us that the message communicated through them is essentially the same. It says, He has ordained for you the same faith He commanded Noah and what we have revealed to you, and what we commanded Abraham and Moses and Jesus. You shall uphold the faith and do not break up into factions. This faith in the Qur'an is emphasized, this faith the Qur'an is emphasizing can be found in the opening of the Shema in the Torah. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. That's, of course, Deuteronomy 6:4. According to Jesus, we are all neighbors. But if it wasn't for a diverse society that included the Samaritans at that time, we would not have heard of the Good Samaritan. We need to learn again that our diversity is a source of our strength. This diversity can be the trajectory for creativity in many fields. We need to learn from the Quran as well as from common sense that if God had wanted, he could have made all of us a single community. But instead, he is testing us by means of what he has revealed to us. Therefore, striving to live peacefully together is an act of worship, and learning to respect our differences is a blessing. If we love for others what we love for ourselves, then we should not oppress as we don't like to be oppressed. We've heard this many times today. We should regard bad for others whatever we regard as bad for ourselves. The adoption of this simple code of conduct by faith leaders can go a long way in healing the strained relationship between people of various faiths. As Micah 6:8 encourages us to do, O people, the Lord has told you what is good, and this is what he requires of you, to do what is right, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. The Quran goes a step further. Where Jews, Christians, and Muslims are divided and cannot resolve their differences, the Quran prescribes an appropriate arena for competition. We are to compete with each other in good deeds. The Quran says to every community there is a direction to turn to, so compete in doing good deeds. Homogeneity, a term in the Quran describing al-Qura, meaning societies that refuse to change, is a recipe for intellectual sterility and eventually leads to the end of a civilization, whereas pluralism that encourages healthy, respectful competition among the diverse cultural groups raises the intelligence and virtue of the society in general. It does so because each community can act as a role model for a particular skill and human virtues for others to emulate, and that is a reciprocal process. It works both ways. It is through such reciprocal engagement that the core values upheld by one nation, society, or community can be tested and held to account by all of us. Social justice is a wonderful arena for competition, as equality and citizenship rights are craved by millions of oppressed people. In conclusion, it's becoming evident that Muslims can best live their faith and strive in a civil state that guarantees equal rights and freedoms to all citizens, such as the first Medina community. My work with the Quran confirms that freedom is the essence of the Quran. God endowed each one of us with the ability to choose, so we can be individually responsible for our free choices. Hence, the more freedom the state guarantees its citizens, the closer it is to implement God's will for its existence. This book is a first step of a project in progress. We need a team of scholars to find more parallels in our holy books to bring believers closer together, while we Muslims need to continuously strive to develop contemporary understanding of the Quran in order for the Quran to fulfill its promise to be enlightenment and mercy for all people all the time. I call on this conference to adopt this book, to spread it, to develop it as a tool of reconciliation and bridge building, so people of various faith can focus less on their doctrinal differences and more on their legal rights as equal citizens. Thank you.